And just recently, under the floorboards in the attic was a dedication photograph of a monument on the Gettysburg battlefield. Hello, I'm Tim Smith with Gettysburg History, and welcome to a Monuments Monday. And I thought today we talk about the recent discovery of a photograph in our project to renovate the John Hopkins House on Washington Street in Gettysburg. You probably know we're working on a new Black History museum. And as we're renovating the museum, we're finding things in the walls and in the attic. And just recently, under the floorboards in the attic was a dedication photograph of a monument on the Gettysburg battlefield. And you can see it was laying face down. The back of it is pretty damaged, except it has a stamp on it saying it was recorded by Mumper Company Studios. And sure enough, this is the dedication of the monument to the 140th Pennsylvania Volunteers, which was dedicated on August 11th, 1885. You might know, of course, William Tipton is also a famous battlefield photographer during this period. And he also came out and recorded at least 3 different views of the dedication ceremony. So in our collection, we do have all the Tipton photographs, and at the Clement Library at the University of Michigan, they have the dedication ceremony monuments taken by Tipton. But we had not seen the Mumper version of the same dedication ceremony. So that's pretty new. And how it got in under the floorboards of a house on Washington Street, I don't think we'll ever know. Now, August 1885 was the date of a Pennsylvania GAR encampment on Cemetery Hill. So there was a lot of monuments around the battlefield that were dedicated during that period. The 140th Pennsylvania Volunteers was recruited in 1862, from the counties of Washington, Beaver, Greene, and Mercer. So it's a Western Pennsylvania unit. The colonel of the regiment was Colonel Richard Roberts. And being a relatively fresh unit, they still had almost 600 men in their unit. And during the fighting, they were part of Samuel Kosciusko-Zook's brigade, and sometimes Samuel Kurtz Zook. But Zook was actually killed leading the brigade into action. And they were actually on the right flank of the brigade as it entered the area of the Stony Hill, which is part of the wheat field action. And they suffered heavily in the action here, losing 37 men killed, 144 wounded, and about 60 missing in action. And we do have a account from the Gettysburg compiler actually talking about the monument dedication. And it mentions that the monument is of finely cut battlefield granite, a sarcophagus shaped, 5 feet long, 3.5 feet wide, and 6 feet 4 inches in height, built by John W. Flaherty of this place. So a couple things you might know: that Flaherty Stone Yard was formerly Solomon Powers Stone Yard. And Flaherty is actually Solomon Powers' son-in-law. And the monument is made out of what we refer to as Gettysburg granite. So it's made out of the same material the rocks on the battlefield are made out of. So possibly this monument is just some of the rocks that are broken up and then polished, right around us. So I think it's fascinating. In the photograph, it's obvious that this plaque is not installed on the monument yet. And the plaque was placed on probably soon after. Perhaps the plaque was not completed by the time of the dedication. But a year later, in 1886, J. Howard Wirt wrote a book about the monuments on the battlefield, and he mentions the plaque and gives the exact details that are on the plaque today. No braver regiment than the 140th Pennsylvania ever dared the flame of battle. None are worthier than they to have their heroism and suffering perpetuated in enduring granite. That's J. Howard Wirt. And now he also mentions in his book that it is made of battlefield granite by John W. Flaherty, the skillful Gettysburg workman, who has made 6 of the memorials now on the field. That's fascinating. And at 1886, he mentions that he did a monument at the Bliss House, which is a tablet for the 14th Connecticut, and the monuments of the 2nd Massachusetts, the 33rd Massachusetts, the 72nd Pennsylvania, and the 140th Pennsylvania. And if you check out these monuments, they're all made of this diabase that is referred to as Gettysburg granite. The monument was dedicated August 11th, 1885, during the encampment of the GAR, Department of Pennsylvania. And the oration was delivered by the Honorable William S. Schallenberger. And he also spoke at the dedication of a subsequent monument put up by this unit in 1889. And remember, some of the Pennsylvania units had established monuments on the battlefield and then afterwards received an allocation of funds for a monument from the state of Pennsylvania and then put up another monument to honor that regiment. And that second monument, which is actually not far away from this one, he also spoke at the dedication of, and there's a really interesting quote that he put in it. His name's William Shadrach Schallenberger, and he was the adjutant of the regiment. And he has this to say: "We compromise no principles when we give full credit to the courage and skill of those who fought so fearlessly for the cause they thought was right. The cause for which they fought is lost forever. When your children and mine shall come to view the places where we stood facing the leaden tempest that swept these hills, I want them to see and know the location and losses of the serried host we overcame. I hope to see the day when every Confederate command will have an appropriate marker on this field, paid for by the national government and planted by the Battlefield Association to restore the lines of battle, to illustrate history, to attest the prowess of the Union Army, and to record treason's losses." So I think sometimes people misunderstand. The Northern veterans would like to mark the position of the Southern Army during the battle so that people can see where the Southern Army was positioned during the fighting, and to mark where the units they fought against stood, how far they made it in the charge, and where they suffered their losses. But make no mistake about it, they're not suggesting we memorialize the Confederate Army or somehow memorialize the memory of the Southerners that fought here. And I think that's where we get into that really gray area. Should the Southerners have been allowed to place monuments on the battlefield? Now, although Schallenberger thinks that we should put up government markers for each regimental spot, you probably know that most of the Northern veterans fought against the inclusion of Southern monuments on the battlefield, and we really don't have any today. Only 20 monuments on the entire battlefield were placed to mark the positions or by Southern states, although we have the brigade markers and some of the other units. So remember, if you like all the content we put on our YouTube channel, please like and subscribe. Oh, let's let the nice doggy go by.
Hi, doggy.
Wow, he looks happy today. Happy and healthy.